Hello, can you hear me? Yep. I'm just going to test the other mic too. Hello, does that work? Okay. All right. All right, welcome to Fabric. Fabric stands for the Fashion and Business Resource Innovation Center. My name's Angela Johnson. I'm the co-founder of Fabric, and you are here at Behind the Seams. So this is our monthly event, and I'm so excited to see so many people here tonight. We like to say we're democratizing fashion here. So let's talk about what that means. We're basically making it accessible, making the fashion industry accessible to anybody. So the people that come through here are anywhere from beginning their journey to experts in their journey, or small brands to big brands and everybody in between, because we have tons of different resources. The whole mission here is to provide like a cornerstone, like a headquarters of the fashion industry for domestic small batch manufacturing, and have a place where you can find your community. So all the resources are right here under one roof. And we are a nonprofit where we're a fashion incubator. So we're incubating and growing these businesses. We're like an accelerator, a design studio, a factory. I mean, we do so many different things here. It's hard to really put a label on us. But if you think about, oh, I wish there was somebody who did this or that, we probably do it. There's a lot of online tools, a lot of physical tools, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about those. So in order to get a little visual on the physical tools, the things that we can actually do to help brands like the ones you just met today, I'm going to show you a little video. What you're going to see is some technology that we use. We try to embrace technology because technology allows us to do the things that the industry normally does by hand. The industry is very old school. There's still a lot of hesitation on embracing this kind of technology, but small brands that come through here are going to be able to utilize all the latest technology. And we think that's going to make it more affordable, more sustainable, and more efficient. So what you're going to see are digital patterns. We make everything digitally. Then we stitch it up on an avatar so that you can actually do your fittings and make sure everything looks right before we actually cut and sew anything. And then you can even play with prints and colors so that you can test them out and see if anybody likes it before you actually invest in buying printed fabric somewhere. You can design your own prints. You can take your avatar, use it for marketing, and you can set your avatar into different situations. If you want your avatar skiing or golfing or something like that, saving you money from having to hire a whole team of people and go on like location to do photo shoots and stuff. So that's the kind of technology. And then after you know how many orders, then to be able to fill those orders and not sit on any inventory. So normally the way that it works in the fashion industry is you're ordering a whole bunch from an overseas factory, and you're sitting on all that inventory and you're hoping to sell it. So this is kind of the opposite of that. You're actually just making it once it's been ordered, and you're only filling those orders specifically for what was ordered. So whatever print, whatever size, whatever item was ordered, you're filling those domestically. So we teach people how to go through the whole development process so that you have tech packs, patterns, sew by samples, and your marketing materials so that you can actually get those orders. And then we do small batches here, or we connect you to the factories that specialize in what you're making. And now you can make just what has been ordered at those factories. And most of the time, those are domestic factories so that you can keep it right here. And that's an important thing nowadays, right? So this video is going to show you what I'm talking about. So this is actually a fashion show that took place right here. And this was last Eco Fashion Week. So the designer, which is our creative director, Amelia, was inspired by butterflies. And then she designed this dress digitally and then basically drew out her inspiration and then took her images and placed them into the pattern pieces. And then that's what we printed on our sustainable printer downstairs. So we printed out the pattern pieces with the prints engineered into it. Then she kind of mocked it up to just see how it would look virtually. And then there's the pieces actually being printed sustainably. And then she cut and sewed them because these are all one of a kinds. So instead of manufacturing these, she just makes them as they come, as the orders come in herself. But there's the avatar so that she can use it for marketing and kind of show it off. And again, she could take that same skirt and put whatever prints she wants in there and play around with it and use that avatar for marketing something else without actually having to cut and sew those. That's going to save her a lot of money. And then that process was really sped up because of all this technology. Normally, and then we put in a digital product passport in a lot of these so that you can learn that process and you can actually connect with the designer and see what it took to make that item. And that is the part that really is helpful in having your consumer understand why your garments might cost a little bit more than something that they buy fast fashion, right? It's because they can learn how it was made and what goes into actually making our clothing. I mean, I don't think most people even understand that. So being able to communicate that way in the digital product passport is really an important part of this. But that process was really fast. Normally in the industry, you're designing and developing a year in advance because it takes 4 to 6 months to get through, the development of your pieces. And then the manufacturing is months and months as well. So that was a couple of weeks, that whole entire thing. All right, so now you kind of understand the technology and everything. Let me tell you a little bit about us. So we're a nonprofit. That means we have a mission and a vision. Our mission is people focused. We really want to help apparel entrepreneurs by providing them with all the resources and the guidance and the community and the things that we've been talking about. And then that can help them grow their businesses. But our vision is to create, it's more of a planet focused vision, is to create a better industry. And we think we can do that right here in Arizona. Why not? I mean, we've already got so many things going for us here in Arizona. And then we've also got a big head start with all the tools and technology that we're using here at Fabric and all the apparel entrepreneurs that have come through here. I mean, there are thousands of them that have come through here. So I think we're on our way to be able to make a better industry right here. And as a nonprofit, we have actually, these are old numbers, so we actually recalculated for our 2024 give back. We are now at $15 million worth of free and discounted programs and services that we've actually donated to the community. Thanks. It really feels good to be able to give away a lot of stuff to make it cheaper and easier for people to start their brands. And then we've helped about 2,200 apparel entrepreneurs since we've opened in 2016. And we give away a lot of free stuff. So if you're a free member, you can add your business to our industry directory, and that's free. And it's actually great for your SEO. I mean, you have the link from our website to yours right there. It ranks you higher on Google. But as a consumer, you can go to our directory and you can find a whole bunch of independent brands, also photographers, models, hair, makeup, boutiques, all kinds of things are in there. So it's a great resource to build our community. And it goes beyond Arizona now. So it's all like indie fashion businesses, and it is filled with thousands of people in there. We also have a classifieds page. So if you're looking for a job or you even have a job to offer, send it to us. We'll post it in there for free so you don't have to pay for a job board somewhere. So if you're looking to get into the industry, go there and find a job. We also have an events calendar, and there are tons of events in it. We basically scour the internet for all kinds of smaller, local fashion shows and things, but we also put in the industry events like the textile shows and trade shows and things that you should be knowing about in New York and LA and everything. So it's one calendar to go find everything. And then you can reach out to whoever's putting on the show and ask them if you can be a part of it. Or if you want to be a part of our events, they're in there too. And we try to make it affordable to be a part of events because we want you to save your money for manufacturing instead of spending it on a fashion show. And so we do all kinds of things like Eco Fashion Week every year. We're in the middle of it right now. And we do our launch event, which is Refabricate. If you came to that, that was an amazing event. It's a whole bunch of designers, about 40 of them, that upcycle denim. And that's how we launch Eco Fashion Week every year. And it's free to be involved in that. If you're a student, it's $10 if you're not. So things like that. We try to make really affordable opportunities. We also do every event. Work with your community to learn something. And then there's all kinds of other things. Like we had a pop-up last night, and whenever we know of anything, we share it in a newsletter. So that's another thing. If you're a free member, you're going to receive our newsletter, and it's all the most important things that you should know if you're an apparel entrepreneur or a student. So it's events, it's grants, it's opportunities, it's anything that we think might be in important classes, things like that, anything that we think is important for you. So if you're going to read one newsletter, this is the one. I know newsletters are no fun, but this is fun. I promise. It's all the good stuff. It's all the stuff that we've curated to be beneficial to you if you're in fashion. Okay, so look for that. Don't let it go to your spam. To me, that's probably our most important benefit to the community. And then we have a free sourcing library. So when it's time to source your materials and trims, you can come here and do that for free instead of waiting for the next textile show and flying to LA or New York or something. And then we also have $5 consulting. Every Friday at 4 o'clock, you can ask me anything, a technical question or anything. Like, I'll be your consultant for $5 every Friday at 4 o'clock. There's all kinds of other free resources that come through here. So that's one of our biggest things, is just providing as much of that as we possibly can so that we build community and that we make just learning and accessing things a lot more affordable. And then we've created a roadmap. This is a digital guide to everything that you need to know to start a brand and to get through product development so that you have tech packs, patterns, sew-by samples, source materials, and trims so that you can manufacture, and to get you through small batch manufacturing domestically. And even branding and marketing and business and everything is in there as well. So mostly it's for that design, development, and manufacturing piece, because it's really hard and they don't usually teach that in very many places. And it's that nitty-gritty, the detail that you need to know to actually get through every little detail. How do I source my materials? Where do I go? What information do I need? How do I find a pattern maker? What do I need to give the pattern maker? How do I spec my garment? What do I need to know before I source materials? What do I need to know in order to hire somebody to sew it? All those details are built into it. You just have to follow it step by step and use it. And you can do some of that here. We do a lot of pattern making and sample sewing and manufacturing and things like that, but you can also do it anywhere. You don't have to use our resources. You can hire somebody locally right near you if you don't live in Arizona, or even other Arizona brands factories are here that we're sharing. So it's literally just a bucket of information and a guide to walk you through how to do all of that stuff. And we offer scholarships into it too. So a lot of the people in this room have been granted a scholarship into that, and it's about $70,000 worth of information. So it's saving them from having to go major in apparel production management or hire a full-time employee that knows what they're doing. So that's our biggest give back. Now, I mentioned Eco Fashion Week. Every year we do Eco Fashion Week. It's a week full of events and opportunities to learn, pop-ups, things like that. So the last event is Saturday. So after this, nothing tomorrow, but then Saturday is On Point. So if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, that one is going to be a really cool event. I mean, it's basically a collaboration between Ballet Arizona. We've selected 10 designers. Each designer gets to take a piece from Ballet Arizona's retired costumes and upcycle it into something new. And then we wanted to supplement, because ballet costumes are tiny, you guys. I mean, little tutus and things like that don't give you very much fabric to work with. So we gave them 3 yards of fabric that was left over from the pandemic when we manufactured medical gowns. We made 800,000 reusable medical gowns during the pandemic, and we ended up with some excess inventory of the fabric. So we basically wanted to provide 3 yards for each designer and printing so that they weren't just stuck with white fabric. So we taught them how to design their own prints. And then we printed that yardage on our sustainable printer downstairs, and they use that to supplement their costumes. And these are going to be on display at this like a high tea sort of salon style fashion show that we're doing with Ballet Arizona. It's a fundraiser for both organizations. And so the tickets are a little higher price because of that. And then the pieces are auctioned off as well. So we met Gail earlier. Gail's one of the designers in the show, and you'll be able to see what she did and what 9 other designers did. And they're really incredible pieces. Each one has a digital product passport in it. So as the model walks by the table, you can scan it and you can learn about the history of the costume, about the designer, and the process that it took them to actually make it. So that's the kind of technology that we like to incorporate into all of these things. All right, now we're going to get started. So now you know a little bit about fabric, or a lot. And like I mentioned, we do this every month, and the purpose is to bring you guys all together so that you can learn something and network with each other. I'm so excited about this one because this is kind of like the icing on the cake for everything I just talked about. So we've got all these resources here, and you can come through here as a designer and start with nothing and walk away with an entire brand and have your patterns and your tech packs and your sew-by samples and manufactured products and things like that with digital product passports and all this cool stuff. But what about at the end, if you could walk away with a certification on your website that says you are sustainable, you are a carbon neutral brand, and it's recognized, it's something that is legit. And so this is the last part of that whole roadmap. It's the icing on the cake. And so today, who we're meeting is actually the person that created it. And I'm going to invite both Tony and Erin up to sit next to me. If you guys want to come on up, they are from EcoStance, and we're going to meet them. We're going to hear a little bit about the reason behind and the history of both of them. And then we're going to learn about what EcoStance is and how it provides these certifications. So before we get started, Tony Giroti, is that how you pronounce your last name? Okay, Tony Giroti and Erin Martin Dorf. And I'm going to have both of them introduce themselves and what they do and how they got here. We are going to start by, well, first of all, Tony is the chairman of EcoStance, and Erin is the chief business development officer at EcoStance, the biz dev officer. But I always put everybody on the spot, just like I made you guys get up and introduce yourself. I'm going to make Erin tell us a little bit about who she is and how she became the chief biz dev officer. So, and Tony, I'm going to give you the mic in just a minute, but I'm going to start with you. So tell us a little bit about yourself as a child. What was Erin like when she was little? Oh yeah, just hold it. Sorry. You got it. Nope, you're good. But hold it really close to your face. Like it's really awkward. Yeah, okay. You almost got to touch it with your mouth.
Okay. Hi. So my name is Erin. Thank you for the introduction. I was born and raised in San Angelo, Texas. So if you're familiar with Texas at all, it's on the western part of the state, very much Friday Night Lights country, and it's It was at one point, our Chamber of Commerce said the wool capital of the United States. I think there's a couple of places that have claimed that title, but I think in the 50s we were. And Texas was a huge wool producing region, and that is what my family does. I am the fourth generation in my family to be part of the wool business. My father and grandfather co-founded their own wool brokerage in the 80s and started exporting American wool in like 1986. And so, textile supply chain is in my blood. And so, growing up, I spent a lot of time on the road with my dad, going to visit with some of our customers who were all over the world. They were in China, they were in the UK, they were in India, and then also visiting with our suppliers, the sheep ranchers, going out to their shearing pens in Colorado and Montana, Wyoming, Utah, all over. And so it really kind of helped me develop a simultaneous love both for travel and for the natural world and our place in it. You can only spend so much time in a wool warehouse growing up watching trucks come in and out and asking, where are they going? And it kind of sparks this really natural curiosity, which is what I had is this blanket I have, did our wool did it go through our warehouse and then end up in this blanket? And just, asking my dad that all the time. And he's like, I don't know, like maybe. But I became very fascinated with that idea, and it really drew me to fashion. Although I kind of figured that out much later in my career.
I'm going to give you this because then you have control and you just click that.
The dumb button. Yeah. But yeah, so love for travel, love for nature, love for fashion, all of those things combined to get me to where I am and building the career that I love. And getting to meet the people that make those things possible also is a huge perk. But yeah, you can see there, I'm on the far, my left or right, you can see that's me and my sister in a shearing pen in Mertzen, Texas. I think I was about 16 in that photo, but that's obviously taken in the spring because that's when shearing happens.
And you got to do the shearing?
I watched. I am not a skill. I do not have the skills to be a shearer. I have so much admiration for the people who do. A good shearer is so important, and it's actually a very threatened position in the wool industry. We don't have enough good shearers, and most of the time they have to come from other countries, and it's gotten even more complicated.
It looks like it takes just the right touch because it looks kind of aggressive.
It looks aggressive, and it's really not. A good shearer can kind of earn the trust of the sheep, and that is kind of what differentiates an excellent shearer, where the shearing has to be done for the health of the sheep no matter what, but it doesn't need to be a rough process, and a good shearer can get it done really quickly and with minimal harm to the animal or no harm to the animal ideally. And And yeah, there's just not enough people that are learning those skills at the scale that we need. So it's something else that I'm really passionate about, is getting more young people into agriculture and doing stuff like that, because it's a great way to be outside. If you love being outside and like want to have work in that way, I think it's really wonderful. But from there, I graduated high school and went to Vanderbilt University in Nashville. I was one of 10 students in my graduating class of like almost 700 who left the state. So most people stayed in Texas, but I was one of the weird outliers that wanted to just kind of see the world, try something else. Absolutely loved my 4 years at Vanderbilt, and really discovered that I had a huge passion for service and giving back. I participated in an organization called Alternative Spring Break, where you sign up to do a service trip somewhere during your spring break, and they pair you with, you don't get to pick the location and you don't get to pick who you go with. You just sort of trust that they're going to put you with the right group of people. And it just became a huge defining feature of my college experience. It took me to, I found that I really love service projects that let me get outdoors. There's definitely a common thread here. So I had projects that took me to Big Sur, to Saguaro National Park was the first one I ever did, clearing trails with the National Park Service. And you can see a couple of those pictures. And then to the Bahamas, where we both did some conservation work and worked with local school kids on some projects like building bookcases. Uh, 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 back in some way, and so that's always been sort of something that has taken me to different places in my career.
Was the Bahamas one part of that mystery spring break thing?
So the Bahamas one, at that point, I was on the governing board, and one of the perks of that is that we got to pick our location. And so,
okay.
I mean, like, we still did it lottery style, where, because everyone wanted the Bahamas one, and I just happened to draw the first draft position, and I was like, dibs, I'm sorry, dibs. But yeah, I mean, it was really fun. Snorkeling for a cause. But from there, I graduated college and I entered a program called Teach for America, where, kind of similar to my spring break trips, you sort of draft style give a bunch of regions that you'd be willing to go to, and you're assigned to an underfunded, under-resourced public school for 2 years, and you commit to teaching in that public school for 2 years. And the program does a training institute. We actually did ours right here at ASU, so it was really fun to be back. Albeit a lot older with more back pain, but it was fantastic memories. The teaching the kids was the best part. The bureaucracy surrounding it was the worst part. But I always joke that I love public speaking now, because if I can do it for 2 years in front of a room full of teenagers that actively hate me and don't want me to be there, it's really easy to do it in front of people that are choosing to come into that room. So, it's where I met, a lot of my best friends, and that are, still really important in my life today. And I looked for pictures of myself teaching. I did not have very many. I have tons of myself during those years hiking, skiing, doing drinking league kickball. But I promise some teaching took place. A lot of teaching took place. After that, I did a stint in Silicon Valley, a stint in working in marketing in New York, and just kind of realized that I really wanted to build a career in business, doing the things that I love, kind of building on the work that my dad and my grandfather did. And so that took me to Emory University to business school, where I got my MBA, and that's also how I met my husband. From there, just joined the family firm full time, and had a really fun entrance into the wool industry, kind of as an official full-time career person. I always joke that I've been doing the wool industry for 37 years because I was born into it, and that is true. But I've been working in it in an official capacity since 2017. So yes, lots of time in shearing pins, and also overseas in Italy. That's my dad. As you can see, and just really became, already knew a lot about the wool supply chain, but learned a lot more about it sort of in practice by doing this job. And around 2020, kind of recognized that we needed to have a sustainability practice at our company. We're small, we're family owned, but the wool industry is not getting bigger, it's getting smaller, and sustainability really felt like the only area of growth. Given the rise of synthetics, the rise of fast fashion, we're not going to see meteoric growth for wool garments because they're way more expensive than polyester and a lot harder, long supply chain, complex supply chain, harder to process, longer lasting. But there just wasn't enough. I didn't feel like there was sort of enough push within the wool industry to try to grow that area of our business. And so I sort of named myself director of sustainability because I'm, one of the family. I get to do that. There's only 3 of us that work in the company, so whatever. But really kind of started on this journey of like, what would it look like for us to move preferred fiber, and who's buying it, who's processing it. Which led me to Jeannie Carver, who I don't have her picture on this, but she's this kind of legendary maverick in the wool industry who was the first ranch certified under the responsible wool standard. And Ralph Lauren sourced wool from her ranches to do all of their opening ceremony uniforms in the Sochi Olympics. And then again in 2018, I'm blanking on which Winter Olympics that was, but every Winter Olympics since 2014, they've sourced wool from Jeannie's ranches and her partner ranches, which now it's about 10 across the Western United States, grazing about.
She actually came here.
She's who introduced Tony and me. And yeah, she's the common.
And she left some of her stuff in our sourcing library.
Awesome.
So if you're looking for some wool.
Yeah, sources. Yeah. But she's, they say don't meet your heroes, but I think the exception to that rule is if your hero is Jeannie Carver. So I met her in 2018 and, just said like, if we could ever work together, like, here's my card, please call me. And it took about 5 years, but finally in 2023, she reached out to our family business saying, okay, I'm having a hard time selling my wool domestically. Do you think you could find a market for it internationally? And we said, absolutely. And so we got certified as a responsible wool sourcing business. And, within a month, I was on a plane to London, meeting with one of our long-standing customers that processes wool and for the use mostly in the Italian supply chain, or where all of the high-end wool fabric gets made. I had a meeting with them in their boardroom. I spent an hour just word vomiting about sustainability and where I thought the industry was going, and traceability, and how provenance is the new luxury. And they ended the conversation with "Say no more. We'll take a truckload," which was exciting unto itself. And then I got in the taxi to go to the hotel, and they called us and said, okay, make it 2, which is even more exciting. So I've been embarking on this project with Jeannie for the last couple of years, getting her wool into the Italian supply chain so that big fashion brands can use it. And now we're trying to work with some of those fashion brands to help them tell a more transparent story about their wool supply chain, because I really do believe in wool as a fiber and that it has the capacity to do more good than harm within the fashion supply chain. And it's a time that fashion sorely needs that. So I've sort of built a side hustle working with indie brands, trying to help them source sustainable wool. And that has kind of led, that passion for supply chain traceability and expertise around it led me to Tony. And we've sort of partnered up with, the wool supply chain being our starting line for the tech that he's built. And so with that, I will pass the mic over to Tony.
Actually, I'm going to hand you my mic.
Okay.
So this is Tony Giroti, and he is the founder of EcoStance. And now he's going to tell us just a little quick about his background.
Thank you so much, Angela. And Erin, I learned a few things by hearing you. So thank you for that. It was very exciting, actually. But first of all, thank you for coming here. And for those of you who are actually watching this video, I really want to thank you for the time you're spending and learning about this area of carbon neutrality and sustainability. And hopefully this session will be worth your while. And we want to give you as much education as we can to get you ramped up and get started. So that's the objective today. But let me backtrack and tell you a little bit about myself, which I usually don't. So I'll do my best to do the best I can. So my name is Tony Giroti, but I want to say right off the gates, I am the least fashion savvy person in this room. I guarantee you that. So don't hold it against me. But what I really like to do is technology. I started my life in a supercomputer company. So I used to make supercomputers and create parallel machines, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I grew up in New Delhi, India. Think of New Delhi, India as the biggest concrete jungle you can find. It's a combination of Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, all together in one city. And it's not stopping. It's kind of going bigger and bigger and bigger. So I grew up in a city like that, where I could just kind of come down, walk, and go to a store, buy stuff, and go to my home, and I can buy anything within half a mile radius of my home. Anything, all the way from a bicycle to food to absolutely anything. So this literally is a ginormous city where I grew up. And that's where my passion for entrepreneurship started. And my interest in sustainability started in a very subtle way, which I'll talk about, because it is the only city on the planet that has so much use of the fossil fuel that it's foggy during daytime at times. So it can really become very difficult to breathe. And amongst all the good things, this is the bad part of it. And I think that's where the seeds were planted in my brain somehow subconsciously, to be aware of the environment and do some good in the future. So I grew up in New Delhi. I am an engineer, an electrical engineer. I went to a very prestigious school in Delhi, and I went to a good prestigious school in before as a high school. So my parents spent a lot of money, and I don't know if it's worth it, but but they did. And then I graduated with a bachelor's in electrical engineering, and I had this uncanny passion to come to the United States. And I was almost an outlier because I was the first guy to ever come from my college to US on scholarship. So I was so committed to coming to US that the only thing I could tell you was I was living and breathing the United States of America. Living and breathing. I could tell you every university in every state, what their application fee is, what their form looks like, what was the deadline, what do you have to do to get admission, and what was the, I can rattle off everything as if I was walking, talking library of the USEFI, United States Educational Foundation in India. I still remember it. That was like a million years ago. So I grew up like that. And as luck would have it, I did come to America. I came with a broken suitcase. I remember that because it broke on the way. And I waited at the bus station for 8 hours before I was picked up by a friend of friend. And that's where my journey started in the United States, actually. I got my master's in electrical and computer engineering, and that's where I became a data scientist and worked for a supercomputer company, where I really got my wings. I really got uh, the the detail level of knowledge of how do you actually build systems which can do some societal good. And there were some projects I did for NASA and others and the weather. So I learned that technology can be applied to do some social good, such as weather prediction, such as, some work for NASA. So I learned a lot actually during those years. And since I feel like I'm an outlier, I wanted to have my first company before I was age 30. So I did have my first company before I was age 30. But that was not the first time I started. I started my entrepreneurship in my college, which I believe is when the real sort of bug bit me to become an entrepreneur. But I eventually did start a company, and I was able to exit from that company eventually through an IPO in Australia because the market was dry in US. And then I did a few things. Then I started another company. That company also had a good exit through an acquisition by a very large company in the US. And so I have been a technologist and a serial entrepreneur almost all my life. That's what I live and breathe. And the roots of sustainability, energy transformation, because of my belief that I can make a change. I just believe that I can make a change. Somehow, somewhere in my brain, there is this thing, this chip that says it's not a digital product passport chip. It's a chip that says you can do it. So I have this uncanny belief of this glass half full, that I always believe I can do it despite all failures I've had and all the negatives that I've faced. I've raised a lot of capital in my life, and I've taken companies to an exit. So that kind of keeps me excited. Uh, the energy and sustainability is something at my heart, actually. My second company was in the areas of energy transformation. I built a company that allowed me to develop smart grids for energy transformation. So all the changes you're seeing around you in making the electric grid more sustainable. I was one of the early, I wouldn't call myself a pioneer, but I would say I was one of the early um, creators, if you will, or entrepreneurs in that space. And I was able to pull the pieces together and have a successful exit from that. And then I joined a very large organization because my hands were tied, because the company that acquired my company told me, you can't compete with us. So therefore, I wasn't able to compete with them. And I joined a very large company for a number of years. And then because I felt that I could do more, I exited that company. And uh, because of this need for me to make a sustainable world, I don't think my hunger is satisfied yet. I of course, I grew up in New Delhi, but now I live in Miami area, the Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale, Miami is about only 3 feet above sea level. 3 feet above sea level. So I've seen fish in the cities, in the streets of Miami during high tide, king high tide. And I'm saying to myself, is this the world that I'm leaving behind for my kids? It doesn't make any sense. So I thought that the power of supercomputer, the technology, all the innovation, how can we fritter away what we've created for our society? How can we just let it all go? That really bothers me. And because of that, I believe that I can do something. I believe I can do something. So I created EcoStance with the mission to really drive sustainability across the masses, not just one company, one person, but the technology had to be such that it could drive a change in the world. Because if we don't make a change in the world, I think it'll fritter away. I think we'll be able to see, we'll see more hurricanes, we'll see more, wildfires, we'll see more floods, we'll see more, a category 3, category 4 storms. And remember, I'm in Florida. I get to see it. I get to see these storms coming, and I've dodged a bullet a few times. I guarantee you that. And so I'm on the front line of global warming, believe it or not. I'm actually seeing it. And my kids tell me all the time to leave Florida, but I am on the front line. I want to do something that makes us a better world. I want to leave my kids stuff that was better before I was born. So I have this uncanny commitment to make this a better world. So that is my drive right now. And I believe that the energy transformation and industries that I'm in right now, which is the fashion industry, I think I can make a change. And the reason I can make a change is because the fashion industry and the textile industry contributes in excess of 10% of the global emissions. It's a lot. And guess what? All of us, every single human being on the planet is touched by fashion or fast moving consumer good or the clothing that we wear. And if I can make a change, I'm going to impact 8 billion people. And I have the technology that I believe as it scales, it can impact every human being on the planet. I'm not looking for working with 6 companies or 25 companies. I'm looking to work with millions and probably billions of people. So the technology you're going to see today is not driven only for the Fortune 500s. It can actually touch you. You can actually go home today and make yourself carbon neutral. This is a true fact of life, and I'm going to show you how that's possible. And like Sherry, she was able to reduce her carbon footprint. She was able to reduce the carbon footprint because she cannot plant trees. She has a business to run, but she can have others plant a tree for her, right? So there is this whole market of carbon offset that has emerged that allows you to go about doing your business and let the professionals do some of the work for you to make this a better planet. Because you cannot go to the Amazon rainforest and plant 85 trees, but you can pay money so that you can buy the carbon offset so that somebody else can plant those 85 trees. The economics in the system has been created so that we can actually make this a better planet, and you can actually make a change today. So I'm going to talk about that today. But just to show you the photo behind, that's my 3 fantastic children. My wife might disagree, but these are beautiful children, and my wife is absolutely beautiful in every way, shape, or form. She's been not only my wife, she's my sweetheart from college, actually, and I married her. She did reject me 3 times, and I'm not opposed to telling anybody. I tell everyone, but I was persistent. Remember, outlier? Remember, persistence? I didn't give up, and she's my wife for the last a lot of years. Um, and my kids are doing good, and I do what I do not because she's my wife, but she's also an entrepreneur. She's my VP of engineer, actually, for the companies I've had. She's been the developer of writing code. So I have so much respect for what she does, and I have therefore unbelievable respect that every time I've started a company, I've always had super duper respect for wives and sisters and people who have to manage families. So I've created I've spared a room in my business where my wife could get a nanny to watch our children. So in other words, I I am a person who wants to make sure we can give the opportunity to everyone on the planet. Everyone should succeed, and we should leave a planet that is healthy, happy, and good for everyone. So I'm driven by that. I'm just morally committed and doing everything I can to achieve that objective. So yeah, that's what it looks like.
So I love that you talked about being a serial entrepreneur because it's led you to what you've created today that we're going to learn about. And I think that's an important lesson for everybody in the room because anybody who is an entrepreneur, you probably know how hard it is. And it sometimes takes multiple attempts at a business before one of them sticks. And that's the one that, takes off. So we're going to hear what this business is because this is the one that's going to, well, it sounds like a few of them stuck and that you were able to sell and walk away, which is the ultimate goal for all of the entrepreneurs. Let's get it to the point where somebody wants to buy it from us, right? We can make some money off of it. So kudos to you for being able to do that and then be able to take what you probably made off of that and invest in starting this business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand you back the mic and I'm going to let you, and if you want to grab the remote, and if you push the bottom arrow, this one right there, it takes you to the next slide and you can take over and you can tell us all about EcoStance and how it works. All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If it's okay, I can stand up.
Yeah, Brandon, if he walks around, good? Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be doing this presentation with Erin. We're gonna tag team, and she's gonna jump in, and we'll just do it together. Huh? So we want to talk about sustainability in the fashion and the textile industry. The company is called EcoStance, and my goal is to help you understand that sustainability is not only for the Fortune 500. It's actually for you as well. You can make a difference. You're making a small difference, but you're making a difference. And because you are at the onset of creating your brand, or you're trying to mature your brand, or you're adding value to your brand, no matter which stage you are in as an entrepreneur, you can make a difference. And I can tell you one thing for sure: the whole demographic has evolved to a point where people are appreciating. There's a lot of demand. The demand is increasing. So there is, as an entrepreneur, you have to understand that demand, and you need to capitalize on the demand, and you can actually benefit from that demand in more than one different way. So we're going to show you all of that today, and for those watching on the video. So what we are talking about today is an accelerator that we are launching with Fabric. Sherry and Angela are working very closely with Erin and myself to get this accelerator off the ground. This is what we call as a net zero sustainability accelerator. And everyone who comes into Fabric or is part of Fabric has access to this accelerator. And you can learn about sustainability, you can learn about carbon neutrality, you can participate, you can ask questions. All of that program is built into this accelerator, basically. So you can join the accelerator by going to fabricincubator.com. And you have to qualify for the grant because we're giving about 90% of the money as a grant, and there is some portion that you have to pay, but there is a lot of that is funded by some of the funding that we've received. We received some funding from Arizona, so we want to give it back to Arizona, basically. So we are a funded company that got the money from Arizona, so we want to give it back to Arizona in a way. And Fabric is doing the same thing in many different ways. So we want to work with Fabric to sort of continue on that theme of giving, basically. Let me just do a little bit of what you get. You get training on sustainability. There is a online material that you will be able to read, review, understand. We'll also have you participate in live Q&A sessions. So that's also part of the deal, so that you can ask simple questions. There is no question that is a wrong question. You can really learn all the 101s and see how that benefits you. So our goal is to make sure that you understand and you benefit from it if you join the program. You also have something called as a custom roadmap. This roadmap is part of the Fabric roadmap, where you will know about how your brand or your business can become sustainable. So the roadmap is created for you because you are unique. Your brand is unique. The roadmap is unique to you. So there is a little bit of a one-on-one, 1 hour meeting, which helps you understand sustainability and carbon neutrality for you and your brand, basically. And the goal here is, like Angela was saying earlier, that not only do you build a product or a line of products that is ready for the market here, but you also get that additional benefit of making yourself carbon neutral or making yourself on a path to becoming sustainable. So you also get that added benefit, the gravy, if you will, or the icing on the cake. And those are very valuable things because you get to learn and see how the technology can be applied to your advantage. Because most of you perhaps are very creative and very entrepreneurial, but you may not have the time or the money or the uh, capabilities to have a technology that supports your business, that allows you to become sustainable or carbon neutral or have a digital product passport. So these are the tools that we provide you, that in addition to some of the additional services like marketing and social media that comes with it, it allows you to really become this. You can use this as a launching pad to get to the next level. So not just launch a brand, but launch a brand that is sustainable and carbon neutral. That gives you that edge that you might be looking for. And I think many people who are entrepreneurs are looking for that edge that makes you different. So that this is the edge that gives you that additional oomph, if you will. Oh, so I'm sorry. The cost to join the program is actually $5,000, but we are subsidizing by giving $4,500 to each of you towards this program. You do not need to share any equity with us. We're not taking even a single percent of your company. You have to qualify. We need to make sure that your brand has certain revenue, or you are pre-revenue, or we need to qualify you. So there is some qualification for that. And you have to pay $500 for it. But I think today, I don't know, Angela, we are even subsidizing $200 of that, right? So 500 minus 200, so that's $300 is what you eventually end up paying. I think there is a qualification required, if I might repeat. I think it's for brands which are less than $100,000 of annual revenue. And many of you may qualify for that. So you can just express your interest to the Fabric incubator, and we can take it from there. All right. So what we do in this Net Zero Sustainability Accelerator is that we will make your brand carbon neutral. And the process to becoming carbon neutral has been provided by the United Nations as to what the process is to get to that end game where you become a carbon neutral brand. It's a process that we will walk you through and get you to a point where you are officially a carbon neutral brand with the seal that can be placed on your website, and you can use it in your marketing. And this is a UN approved model where you can buy certified offsets with transparency. So there is some conditions to that, and we'll give you all the tools you need to get it everything like print ready type of thing. So there are pieces of the puzzle that you're not aware of, but we are going to give you all the tools and the technology and the capability to sort of give you that in your hand in a silver platter with very minimal involvement of your time. But we're going to give you a lot of education, enough education that you have the ability to be able to sort of carry through the message as you go into the industry and sell your products. We also get you on a path to becoming a sustainable brand. Becoming carbon neutral is a relatively faster activity through carbon offset, but becoming a sustainable brand where you are procuring a sustainable material or you are launching digital product passport can take some time. But we are going to give you the path and a roadmap where you can actually embrace some of these technologies. Again, we are giving you that for free. You have access to what large brands will have, the big brands that you are going to compete with, because you remember you're competing with the same dollars from a customer perspective. They have to buy products. So if your products are tethered by good technology, then you're leveling the playing field in some way, shape, or form. And we are giving you that tech to make you very competitive. Erin, do you want to talk about the key trends and brands and for the brands and retailers?
Yes. Oh, I didn't push it. Is it work? Okay. Sorry. We're at a really interesting moment right now in sustainable fashion where, I think for the last few years, it's been enough to just sort of claim sustainability and people weren't asking too many questions. But, as people got more and more online and social media, now customers really are a lot more savvy and they want to know who made my product, where did it come from, was it done sustainably? And they're asking much more detailed questions. And so the industry is trying to evolve as customers evolved. And I think I was telling someone the other day that, sustainable fashion can be a very competitive space where greenwashing accusations get hurled left, right, and center. Instead of citing out your competitive advantage, it's a lot easier just to sort of dump on other people's sustainability initiatives. And my thought is, okay, well, let's just let the data do the talking and let's let customers look at something like a digital product passport and actually see how the thing was made and understand it better for themselves. Because I think this does a couple of things. For one thing, it helps elevate the work that brands are doing and the people that actually make garments. It makes it real. And helps educate consumers over what goes into that. I think everyone in this room obviously knows very intimately what it takes to make a shirt, but I think the average person on the street who's buying a t-shirt doesn't really think about that. And we have the technology to make consumer education sort of a baked in part of the process. And I think that EcoStance's mission is to, we feel like if people know better, they'll do better. And that's really what we're trying to do. So, and I think, we're able to do all of that. Previously, you might have to rely on a big fashion brand to do an ad campaign or something that maybe opens up a little bit of a window to the process. But I think now with everyone on their phones, tech is democratized, attention is democratized. And so we want to be part of that. So this sort of reiterates a lot of what I'm saying, where a lot of subject matter experts in the space agree that consumers are more savvy about the sustainability of their products, are willing to ask questions, sort of recognize that fast fashion might be a bad thing, actually, but aren't really sure what to do next. What are my alternatives? What should I be looking for? Again, according to a lot of the research that the sustainable fashion space is doing, customers have said that they are willing to pay more for a sustainable product if they knew where it came from, if they knew about the good that was done in the process of making it. And I think, this isn't really on the slide, but just another thing that's kind of worth pointing out. A lot of greenwashing accusations come from just data silos where operations are not talking to marketing. Marketing is not talking to operations. As entrepreneurs, you don't have marketing and operations departments that can be siloed, but why not give you the tech at the ground floor that will allow those silos never to even be a thing? And we really do believe in, building a tech product that marries those two parts of the production process in a really traceable and visible way. I think we're ready for the next slide. Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, this is a product that will help you build trust with your consumers in a way that is accessible to them and accessible to you in a way that you can kind of understand the impact of the choices that you make at the design and production levels, so that you can carry that information with you as you grow and scale. The majority of emissions happen in the fashion industry, happen within the supply chain. So it's the easiest place for fashion brands to make changes that have huge resonating impact. We talked a little bit about scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. And I think EcoStance is primarily concerned with that scope 3 emissions and helping you reduce those by having a traceable supply chain and then giving you the opportunity to buy offsets, and we hope eventually carbon insets, which means investing in your own supply chain that is actually doing the kind of work that tree farms in the Amazon and other places are doing, because there's a lot of work happening on the ground in the agricultural space that we believe can flow into what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I want to give you a quick introduction. I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide. I just wanted to show you this slide so you know that this is what the big companies have in their tool bag, the technology. They have this technology, and this technology that we've developed, we're giving it to you, is at par with any big company that can actually offer for their brands and their products, their marketing, their sustainability effort, their carbon neutrality, and they hire big companies.
I'll jump in and say that, like most big fashion brands have a sustainability director, maybe several, or sustainability director and maybe several sustainability managers. So we want you to think of EcoStance as an entire sustainability team in your pocket.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And the technology you see there goes all the way from calculating your carbon footprint. You can calculate your carbon footprint. And how many people out here know their carbon footprint? Except one, that's Sherry Berry. Just think about it. If you don't know, you don't know. We're almost living in, like, our head is in the sand, all of us, me included, right? We are all living this euphoric life that life will be fine 10, 20, 30 years from now. And maybe some people don't care, but there are a lot who do care. My kids care. My kids do care. They're in their 20s and they care every day. They are the next generation who are going to live with it. How can we give away something that just is less than what we got? So I think the technology, if it makes a difference, we should be able to really make a difference. And tech is the only thing that differentiates you from the other big ones. Why? Because you're creative. What's the difference? You don't have the deep tech or the deep pockets to get to market like them. Now you do. This is your sustainability and tech in your pocket. It's on demand for you, that allows you to get that edge that you are looking for. So it gives you a lot of things. It gives you a disclosure portal. What is the importance of that? If you ever want to sell a product in California and in Europe, you need to be able to disclose a lot of the stuff.
Also New York. Also New York, I think they're passing legislation soon. Yeah.
Otherwise, you will say to yourself, why is my product nobody's buying it? Like, what is the reason why nobody's buying my product? It's because they wouldn't. You need certain tech to be complementary, which should add on to your product so people can buy it. Otherwise, you'll have a fancy product, you have a beautiful design shirt, but nobody's going to buy that because Because in California, there is a regulation called AB 1305. For any small or large business, small as in a two people company, any small or large business that wants to purport to be a carbon neutral brand or an organic brand or a sustainable brand must prove that they are. So how do you prove that? You're going to hire a team of engineers and a large company to do it for you? You don't have the ability or the dollars to do it. What Erin said earlier was the power of data. We work with you to get the data to be published in a way that conforms to the AB 1305 in California, for example, and New York. But if you're selling your product in Europe, you have even a larger problem to solve. You have ESRS and CSRD. Sorry to throw some acronyms at you, but this is the alphabet soup of regulation in Europe that requires you to bring some disclosures to this. And if you ever have a digital product passport, which we're going to show you a new way of DPP, not just a chip, you can actually have a QR code. So rather than embedding a chip in your product, you can actually add a QR code on your product. So imagine the cost saving from a product perspective. You don't have to spend the money to buy the chip to put it into the garment and track it. You can actually do it through a QR code. That's the new technology, and you can change it. You can show all your customer stories. So there are technologies that we've built. How do you track your supply chain? It's in the tech. The tech will allow you to build your supply chain. And when you take this data and you create customer stories, you become an authentic brand. People can relate to you. So this is not data just for the sake of data. You can build authentic connections with your customers by telling the stories that make sense to you, to your customers.
Question for you. It's just kind of seems like an appropriate time to ask this. So I heard that by 2027, it's going to be required to have the QR code digital product passports in. I don't know if I heard it was like everything we buy. Is that true? Okay.
Yes. There are three type of products where the QR code or the digital product passport is required. Electronics, which I know you guys are not in that space. Batteries, such as the EV charges, and guess the third industry, apparel, fabric. So you can't even compete in that market in 2027, but in 2026 it starts, and some people have already started in 2025. Remember, competitive advantage. This is a cutthroat world. This is the competitive environment. The sooner you start, the better you are, because you could make a difference. And you're doing it to promote your brand, right? Definitely. You're doing it to get a market share. I totally agree with that. But you could actually make a difference. You're actually making a difference. If there are people like you who are making that difference, just imagine where the world will be. It's two people in this room today. It's four tomorrow. It's 8 a week from now. Imagine the difference you can actually make. You can start a movement. I'm literally, I mean it. What we are trying to do is we are trying to make Arizona as a hub of innovation for sustainability and carbon neutrality. And Fabric is the first incubator of its kind in the United States to allow entrepreneurs like you to see carbon neutrality as a competitive advantage. It has not been attempted before. Remember, outlier. You can be those outliers. You can be those mavericks. You can be those entrepreneurs. You can be the people who will change the game. Don't fall into the prey of following the practices of your incumbents. Change the game. That's the way you win. That's the way I won, or at least I'm purporting to win the game. I try hard to be that outlier. And there is a lot of value if you succeed. It's hard, but it's very rewarding. I can tell you that. So I want this not to be a money making machine for my organization or me. I want to hand it over to you so you guys can take the word and spread it across. I think you are the champions of tomorrow. That's the whole idea. This technology is your technology. I want you to take it and go to market with it, basically. What is traceability, by the way? Many people don't know it, and I don't want to mesmerize you with the content. You can always go back and read it later. The traceability is all of these regulations in Europe and in the United States and elsewhere require you to provide some proof. For example, where the product origin was or is, where it was manufactured. So your product could be designed in the US, it could be material could be procured from India and Pakistan. The design could be in Italy or United States. You're manufacturing it in China. Whether you do it or not, I don't know. But some of that, what we call as a chain of custody, must be disclosed. And with all the tariff that we're seeing right now, it might even become mandatory sooner than we think, believe it or not. So despite that, just for the purpose of traceability, for the purpose of carbon neutrality and sustainability and the ESRS and the CSRD in Europe and AB 1305 in the US, there is a lot of need for transparency, and it's becoming mandatory. So that traceability is right in your hands. So when a consumer walks into a store and they buy your product, and your product has a QR code, remember, without the RFID chip, they can scan it on their phone. They know everything about the product, and you create the customer stories, basically. And and what Erin said earlier was provenance is the new luxury. We're giving you the provenance. This is provenance. The traceability is the provenance. You are creating a premium product, no matter what price you charge, and your asset is provenance, the traceability. That's what you get, basically. And you can show brand leadership. You can show brand leadership. There's nothing, you don't need to be shy about that. You can show brand leadership by saying that you are eliminating greenwashing. You can be bold about it because you can back up your claims with data and with the story. So your customers will believe you. If your story is compelling and you have data to back it up, your customers will believe you. Why? Because customers have become suspicious. They will gravitate towards companies and brands who they believe. Because remember, people are not just buying a product, they want to buy an experience. You can give them that experience. And just to give you a little bit more on the logistics of how it works for you, I'm going to walk you through some of the logistics. Do this type of thing. Is that fair, Angela? I can do that, right? Okay, so this is logistics of what actually happens when you join the accelerator. We basically do three things with you. We will work with you to calculate your carbon footprint. We'll calculate the carbon footprint of your brand or your company. Sherry, how much time it took to calculate the carbon footprint of your brand?
About 2 hours.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so Sherry is going to come.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sherry Berry, the co-founder of Fabric and the owner of Everyday Luxury. When I had the chance to calculate my carbon footprint, which I was thrilled about because I didn't know how to calculate that. I had no idea how I would get that information. Tony sat down with me and asked me some very specific questions, and that took about an hour and a half. There were a couple of questions I couldn't answer, so then I had to go research the answers to that question. So we had a follow-up meeting that was about half an hour. And after that, Tony was able to come back, I don't know, a week later. I don't know what happens in churns in the technology, but it took all that information and churned, and he came back to me and explained what my carbon footprint was for scope 1, 2, and 3, and how many tons of carbon that was, and what my choices were to be able to offset it. And, you know, I was kind of really happy in an emotional way that some of the choices that I could pick were things that really spoke to me of how we can help our planet. So it was it was a great experience. And then I immediately got the badge and the QR code that I could start putting on the labels of my product. And I mean, it was pretty seamless for me and really amazing and powerful. And this isn't just like some Wizard of Oz kind of technology. This is certified UN traceable data.
Thank you so much. And I must admit, Sherry is a pleasure to work with as well. She's such a fantastic human being, such a good person. So it was definitely a mutual thing, and I really respect her thinking. Um, uh, and I wish more people were like her, who really saw it from a holistic perspective. So I think definitely a great opportunity to work with Sherry. So we're going to do the same thing with you. Perhaps it'll take 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. We'll figure out that. Then we buy the carbon offsets. All of that is part of the 2 hours, and you get a lot of technology called your EcoStance page. Everybody has a LinkedIn page, I presume, right? Or at least have some kind of a website. All of that website or a LinkedIn page is basically, we bring it all together for you in something called as an EcoStance page. It's your marketing thing, if you will, a page on the web that you can has a QR code, it has a link, and you can put it on your label. You can put it on every product you sell on the plastic. You can put it in the tag if you want. So this is your calling card. Just like the way you have your business card, this is basically everyone can see it. You can do it online, you can do it in person, but this becomes your story for the world. And you can customize the story, but something that is unchangeable is the provenance, the traceability, which is your luxury, as Erin puts it. So that provenance is like the fact that is unchangeable, that which is basically works to your advantage, that you actually are a carbon neutral company and that you cannot change it. So the fact that there is data to support your claim, all of that is put together by a bunch of technologists. And if you were to do it manually, it'll take you weeks and maybe months. And this is what big companies do. They spend 6 months, 9 months, 1 year hiring consulting companies to put this data together. They bring the data, they do this and they do that. You getting out of the box, and Sherry got it in less than 2 hours. That's the process for becoming a brand new, a carbon neutral brand, and you get the badge. And we calculate your carbon footprint. We have some calculators which are also on the website. And like Angela said earlier, you can calculate your carbon footprint for your own self. Actually, if just go to the website ecostance.com. You can click on individual calculator and calculate your carbon footprint tonight. And of all the people who are watching this on video, no matter where you live on the planet, Italy, France, India, China, Japan, wherever you live, you can calculate your carbon footprint. It supports 200 countries. Remember my mission to reach the masses, not just the United States, but to reach the masses, which means that every person listening to this video or who's interested in becoming carbon neutral can go on the website, put the country of their choice, calculate the carbon footprint, and you can actually even reduce your carbon footprint tonight in about less than 20 minutes. So the power of the technology is in your hands, basically. There is always what the marketeers called as the intent action gap. 99% people on the planet have this intent to make the better world. But how many act on it? Less than 2%. It's called the intent action gap. People have written stories about that. Marketing people make thesis on that. But the intent action gap is, I have the intent, but I lack the tools to actually take that action. We're giving you the tools to make that action. That is the game-changing thing. It's game-changing. If you are not able to calculate your carbon footprint in less than 5 minutes, give me a call. I guarantee you, you will be able to calculate your carbon footprint in less than 5 minutes. Guarantee. And I'm not making this up. You know my passion. I'm not making this. I built this technology from scratch. And it is not possible through any other means, but you can do it through this technology. And we have already a carbon exchange. You can go to the carbon exchange immediately by clicking the next button and become carbon neutral. And we want to do it for your business also, not just you individually, but for the business also. And what do you get? You get this label, which is a carbon neutral label. You put that on the website, right? So people know that you are carbon neutral. When somebody clicks on this button, it goes to your EcoStance page where there are all the certifications and the provenance, which nobody can alter, not even you cannot alter. So therefore, there is trust in the system. It's unalterable. So therefore, it conforms to the California AB 1305 regulation, and it conforms to ESRS and the CSRD for Europe. Because you cannot change it, it works to your advantage. And what it says, each certificate, it's like you click on the certificate, you can actually see it like this. This is the provenance. This is the chain of custody of your product. It was, you bought a product from, let's say in this case, you bought a project from Brazil. It was verified by Vera. It was the standard is Vera of the offset, which is a certified organization. So you're buying something certified by United Nations regulation. It was verified by a company called Environmental Services. We are the custodians of that certificate, and John Smith bought it. Just think of it like that. That chain of custody, nobody is going to trust if somebody just made it up for you, because you are now violating the rules of the game by the AB 1305 and the European standard. If you make it by hand, it's null and void. But this is coming from the blockchain. Have you heard about blockchain, Bitcoin? Nothing to do with Bitcoin, but it's coming from the technology, inside out. This is what the big companies have when they spend millions of dollars, right there in front of you. It's called chain of custody. It's mandatory. It is mandatory for you to do business in the next couple of years in California and in Europe, basically. And these certificates are not man-made or human-made. These are automatic, coming from the technology. Imagine you were selling your product with a certificate like this. Every shirt you sell, every pant you sell, every jacket, jersey, every box that goes out your door, your website has this logo, you have QR code built into it. All of a sudden, you have a system. There is no one who's going to compete with you. You are the player. You're driving the market. Your product is going to drive revenue, but you have the tools around it, the packaging, the information, the sustainability, the traceability that is going to set you apart. If I have choices of buying something for X dollar and I can relate to your company, I will buy from your company. Even if it's a few bucks more, I can trust you. Why do we buy products from big brands or put our credit card in big companies rather than small companies? Because we say that our credit card is going to be safe, right? We believe in safety. We believe in de-risking our life. This will de-risk your customer's life, basically. That's the advantage. And this is the second thing. As you embark on this journey, we're also going to help you become a sustainable brand. Now, sustainability, you cannot get in a day. Sustainability means you really have to rethink your product life cycle a little bit. So we help you, procure different types of products. I know you talked about sustainable cotton, for example, right? Many of you might be thinking about sustainable cotton. Some of you might be thinking about procuring other products, which makes you a leg up over your competitors. So we can help you in this organization to make you genuinely sustainable in the long haul. And I think that's a journey for which we create a roadmap for you as well. And this is the digital product passport. You heard about that. Some of you even use it. But this is a technology that doesn't require a chip, actually. This is the next generation. This is the next gen. You can be selling a bag. You could be selling a shirt. You don't have the ability to embed a chip in every product that you sell. So this would be a way in which your customer walks into a store or they see something online, there is a tag hanging, this look into it on their phone and they get the information. And this is the traceability, and here is the disclosure of the environmental impact. The carbon dioxide, the energy consumption, the water usage, the recycled material used, and the upcycled material used. These are the categories which are required by Europe and the soon to be in the US as well. This is your information you need to get to next level, basically. It's all pre-built, packaged, and how much time it took to create the QR code this morning? She didn't know I'm going to put her on the spot. 2 minutes, she said, less than that. So why not? Why not? Here is a checkout of a business where you can actually have a checkout like make my purchase carbon neutral. Let's say that you really love this thing and you're getting some good traction with your market. You can even let your customers pay for sustainability. You don't have to pay for it. Let the customer pay the premium. So let's say this product is worth, let's say, $50. You can add a premium of $5 or $3 or $2 and let the customer pay the premium to buy a sustainable product, right? So in other words, you can even increase your revenue. You don't have to charge exactly what it cost you for sustainability. You could charge more because you are making a premium product. Your premium product deserves a premium price, is what I'm trying to say. So you have a lot of flexibility, and and you can do it at the point of sale.
What exactly is making that product carbon neutral if they pay $3 extra versus not?
If you pay extra, there are two things that can happen. Number one, we can buy carbon offset based upon the UN mandate to make that particular shirt carbon neutral.
And the offset is a tangible, like environmental.
Yes, it's a currency of reducing your carbon footprint, which is defined by the United Nations. So United Nations, in their wisdom, said, we're going to create a product called carbon offset. Why? Because people like you and I don't have the means to, on a daily basis, because we live in a city, we don't have the way to plant, trees, if you will, or invest in carbon sequestration projects, right? So United Nations said, we understand that. We understand that. But what if you gave me $3 and I use that $3 and invest in the projects of your choice so that you can allow somebody else to plant trees for you? So let's say $3 buys 3 trees. I'm just making it up, right? So when you pay that, when the $3 came from the customer, that $3 was used to buy a carbon offset. That carbon offset purchase means that somebody is planting those 3 trees in the project of your choice. And let's say the project of your choice was the Amazon rainforest. Then 3 trees are planted in the Amazon rainforest. It's as if you planted those trees. And in order to qualify those projects, it's not like, okay, we'll just plant the trees. It's a very well controlled business, basically. In order to become a certified product, the project managers have to jump through hoops, which means you have to disclose a project, you have to get certifiers to certify the project every 2 years. It's like a tightly run machine. It's like a business, if you will.
Yep. Carbon offset, like the carbon offset industry is, it's pretty robust, and to have a project certified as a carbon offset project that has to be monitored by scientists that are taking measurements, gathering data, ensuring that the project is taking out as much carbon as they say they're taking out. And then when those credits are issued, they also have to make sure that they retire those credits so they're not double counting. And our technology is built in line with all of those standards, so that when you spend those $3 to plant those 3 trees, those 3 trees are planted on your behalf and your behalf only. There's not other companies that are claiming that same carbon offset that you would be doing.
Yeah, perfect. And in the near future, there is a lot of demand for engagement with the stakeholders, and you also get that. I won't go into the details of it. Plus, there are many other things like product redesign. Fabric will help you think through that. And if you're watching online, then we assist you in the product redesign of how you can make your product more sustainable. Some of you may be interested in more transparency on the supply chain, so you have a way to build the supply chain. And many of you might be thinking about how can I use circular economy for my premium product, or have something called as an extended producer responsibility. You're going to hear these terms, I guarantee you that, if you're in this business. If you haven't heard them, you may want to Google them and try to learn them a little bit.
For
But
those
you
of
will,
you, sorry to jump in, but
No.
for those of you manufacturing domestically, this is a great opportunity to showcase that you're making the ethical choice of working within the United States that has labor protections and pays fair wages to garment workers, and all of these really hairy issues that get brought up in fashion all the time. But because you are already working within the context of a sustainable fashion incubator, you're this great, I think, advantage that you're already making the right choices, and you don't have to completely redesign your existing supply chains to make them more ethical or make them more sustainable. You're already making those choices, and this is a really seamless and simple way that you can communicate that to your customers.
Yeah, this is perfect actually. So what do you need? I think you can do well by doing good. Well, as in you can make more money and be more profitable, and yet you can actually do good for the world. It's not mutually exclusive. You can have your cake and eat it too, is what we're trying to say. You can. It wasn't possible up until now when the tech was not there, but now that the tech is there for you at your disposal in your pocket, it is an achievable dream of that can be done. And you can rise above the competition. You can be transparent and show your leadership.
Yeah.
You
One
can,
of the, I think, biggest barriers to entry for sustainable fashion brands is cost, and the cost to do it right. I can think of two of my favorite sustainable fashion brands off the top of my head that have gone out of business in the last couple of years. And my hope is that the next Maura Hoffman, the next Amorvert, will be able to sustain itself because they have this kind of technology already available to make the right choices from the beginning and communicate it to their customers in a very crowded marketplace.
and you can build your own brand stories. This is an opportunity for you to create your stories that connect with your customers, and you can use that as a differentiation. I think I think only you can tell your story, and I think that's where we give you the opportunity to do it actually, and be able to communicate that to the world in a way that makes sense, without lifting a finger on the tech side, basically. And free registration. I want you to go home and calculate your carbon footprint wherever you are in the world. Those watching, I know some people are watching from Australia. I know that, and Europe. So you can actually calculate your carbon footprint and tell your friend to do the same. And you can do all of that on the EcoStance.com website. You can register today. It's free cost to you. You can register today, and Angela's going to walk some of the next steps as well, right? Yeah, it's right after this. You can even watch the video on the top if you want. There is a video. So thank you so much. Again, I'm Tony Giroti. This is Erin Martin, and we are partners in crime. And I would love for you to be part of this journey and maximize your value from Fabric. And I think Fabric is doing a fantastic job. And for those of you online, you can still go to fabricincubator.com and participate in the Net Zero Sustainability Accelerator. You have nothing to lose. You can only gain both in the short term and the long term. So I would encourage you to be able to think of your brand to be a sustainable brand or a carbon neutral brand. Once again, thank you for your time. I appreciate you being here and watching this. Thank you.
I see a remote. Oh my gosh. Okay. We're not completely done. I want to put this QR code up because if you do want to explore this, scan this, and it will take you through Fabric so that you don't have to pay the full price that it normally would cost for a big brand to be able to do that. So let me get out of the way. You can scan this. And also, we're going to put this into the roadmap. So everybody who is an apparel entrepreneur member that's using our roadmap right now, there's going to be a whole section on it. It's not there yet. This is just our first introduction into partnering and providing this. So we wanted to educate you guys on what carbon neutrality is and what is coming down the pipe here for brands and all the laws and regulations and everything that are going to be required anyways. So like Tony said, you might as well be on the forefront and be the first to actually embrace this and do it really affordably through Fabric. So this will be in your roadmap if you're one of our apparel entrepreneurs shortly. We're also going to share it out in our newsletter as well too. So all of this will be coming to you once we've worked out all the fine-tuned details, but you can actually go in now and you can create your own account. And I already did it with my brand. And then I also did the same thing for our events, for our Eco Fashion Week events. So at the end of Eco Fashion Week, we're going to send out a newsletter and you guys are going to be able to help us offset our carbon footprint from Eco Fashion Week with a few dollars. Literally, it's just a few dollars because we already calculated what the carbon footprint was of these events. And we're going to hope that you guys are going to help us offset it. So we'll send out that newsletter and you'll get a little taste of how that works on the back end. And then there'll be a whole entire, there already is a whole entire page on our website. We actually launched it today. So if you go under services on fabricincubator.com, you'll see EcoStance right there, and it's got a little summary and a link to learn more. So as we roll it out, you guys will be the first to know about it. And we're really, really proud to be able to partner with you guys. Thank you so much for thinking of Fabric to launch this with. And it's like such an honor and a privilege. So I want to also thank you guys for coming all the way out here too. I mean, they're not here in Arizona normally. So it was a really amazing thing that you can make it out here. So we appreciate it. And thank you for everything that you're doing to actually make it a better world. I want to give you one more round of applause. I also want to ask if anybody has any questions. I know that was like a lot to absorb. So we're going to take a couple of moments for a couple of questions. So I do see one right here.
I don't know if I have a question that can actually be answered in this, but something I think about often, we see this push for sustainability in fashion, for consumer goods, for less, toxic things in our foods. And it seems like a lot of that comes from the brands wanting to do better, but also consumers wanting those brands to do better. But where does the retailer sit in all of that? Why is there not more conversation around the retailers demanding better of the brands that they're selling, and then also educating the consumers on what those changes would mean, or what those brands, the chosen brands for those stores, why they selected those instead of others because of sustainability choices?
Great question. You want to?
Yeah, I could take a stab, and I don't know if you have thoughts too, but I mean, I think it is a complicated question, and you're right that I'm not the ultimate authority on this. If I had to guess, I would say it's because there's no one owning it. There's not, a government entity. I mean, I guess there is legislation that's going to push things in that direction. But, there is kind of like Tony talked about the intent and action gap where a lot of consumers say they would like to shop more sustainably, but they don't know where to start. And there hasn't been, a concerted push to try to educate consumers on what that looks like. It's been very piecemeal. Brands do some of it. Consumer organizations do some of it. Individuals do some of it, but everyone sort of owns a little piece of the problem, but there's not really a cohesive strategy as a whole. And, I think there's kind of a big joke among like sustainability managers where the expectation is huge and the budget is tiny because it's hard for especially big brands to quantify the benefits of doing things more sustainably. They know the sort of intangible, broader good, but they have to make it work with, even with big brands, very small budgets, and it's easy for it to get cut by people that are very focused on the bottom line. And so, if I had to guess, I think that's why there's been less of a push at the retailer level, where times are tough, consumer dollars are limited and constrained more and more every day, and it's very easy when a company is fighting for survival to cut things like sustainability that are focused on the greater good, but not necessarily the bottom line.
Yeah, I can add to that. I think I totally agree with Erin's point of view. I also believe there is a movement that has started, which is creating an insetting supply chain to reduce the carbon footprint and make the supply chain that you own also sustainable. So when you look into brands and you look into retailers, they are procuring these products, the brands are procuring these products from the manufacturers, and the manufacturers are procuring raw material from, the thread and the fabric and other makers, and eventually it all comes down to maybe farmers and ranchers, right? So the movement that has started, that we are actively pushing for, is to create an insetting supply chain so that we have a full transparency of the entire supply chain, from the grower and farmer to the all the actors, dyeing, manufacturing, thread making. All the actors in between are going to be participating, and eventually the total carbon footprint of all the actors will come together to the retailer with the data through the brands. So think of that transparency is going to encourage an ecosystem that will allow all the participating players to become carbon neutral or sustainable, because eventually the purchase and sale of their products is dependent upon whether they are actors who are agreeing to this concept or not. So you will see sooner than later that the brands and the retailers are going to put pressure on the downstream actors to participate in a sustainable supply chain. And similarly, the farmers or growers on the other end of the spectrum, who are tier 4 players, are also going to demand that their product procurers or buyers are also actors who are participating in a sustainable and carbon neutral supply chain. So the push will come both from the bottoms up, from the farmers and ranchers, to the top down from retailers and brands. And I think that insetting supply chain is basically what I believe is going to have a huge viral effect in the market.
It's like a sustainability virus.
I would also just add one more thing, that, manufacturers are not the sexy part of the fashion supply chain. Like, let's just clear the air on that. We all know that. But a lot of the work they do is really boots on the ground stuff that I think would be amazing for customers to know. I can think, one example, there's a wool combing mill in South America, in Uruguay, that, my dad toured it. I had missed the trip. That's a different story. But they are fully carbon, I think I would say carbon negative, and have been for 20 years, not because they, made the conscious choice to adopt these sustainability practices, but because they need to, because they're off the grid. They're way out in the countryside. And so all of the wastewater from the what's called scouring of the wool that they do goes into settling ponds, which they use methane recapture balloons to capture the methane that comes out of that as part of a natural part of the process. And then they use that methane to power the plant, especially in the winter when they need extra power. They generate it on site. The rest of the power that they get, because they're off grid, is all from solar and wind. Another example I can think of is a combing plant in Italy that I did get to visit. And they are, again, an entirely closed loop system. And when they scour the wool, they centrifuge all of the dirt and the naturally occurring wool grease and all of the stuff that's not fiber. They centrifuge that out. The grease gets sold to the cosmetics industry for use in all kinds of great stuff, lip balms, face creams, and then everything else, the dirt and plant matter, becomes compost. And the water that they draw from the nearby river gets put back into the river, cleaner than it started. And but I don't know that a lot of fashion brands are able to tell that story. I don't know that a lot of fashion brands even know that story, and that's not anyone's fault. There's just there hasn't been an easy way to surface it. And it just kind of, you might get lucky that you have a very engaged sourcing manager that goes and tours the plant and then happens to talk to somebody on the marketing team. But again, it's like these data silos are a big challenge in telling that traceability story. And we're hoping to facilitate a much easier way to do that with EcoStance.
Boy, if I'm going to take a snippet from this whole entire thing, it's that to summarize everything that we just talked about. Yeah, that's awesome. Any other questions? Yes. Here, let's do it in the mic though, so people at home can hear.
Hi, thank you guys. That was really awesome. I was just curious if there are some examples you can provide to some of the carbon offset projects that are available.
Yeah, definitely. If you go to ecostance.com website, we have listed 12 projects actually, and most of them are in the areas of reforestation, um, and some of them are in renewable energy. Some of them are also certified in like certain projects which are specific to doing societal good. And many of these projects, you can go and look into the website, have a detailed information about the project itself. There are a lot of certification related documents listed on the website, and it's free, there's no cost. You can go and check them out and see which project suits you or is basically meets your taste, if you will, right? And you'll find them to be in different places like South America, United States, China, Philippines, South, in Africa, a couple of places. So you'll find all sorts of projects. And remember, the air we breathe is common to the planet Earth. It doesn't even matter where the project is. It could be in South America. It could be in Philippines. The air we breathe there's no boundaries to the air we breathe and the planet we live in. If you see it from the far off, it's the blue dot. So
I want to find out which one Sherry chose. Do you remember which specifically when you chose yours?
I actually, at Tony's, I guess, no, I immediately fell in love with the one that was reforesting the rainforest, but not only because it was planting trees, but there was also an educational piece that was teaching the natives more circular, efficient farming techniques so they could raise their standard of living. So there was two things happening there that kind of felt really special to me. And then one of them was a clean energy project that was really, really innovative. And I just felt like that innovation really needed a little bit of my investment because I hope it's something they can figure out how to do.
she bought 3 projects actually. So there is no limit to how many projects you can buy. You could have a certain carbon footprint, and you can decide to buy 2, 3, 4, 5 projects, whatever your heart. There is no limit to it. You can spread your dollars on the projects where you see sort of more of a fit for you guys. So yeah, that hopefully that helps.
Awesome. Yes.
Does that answer your question? Yes, thank you. Okay, you're welcome.
To piggyback off of the carbon offset question and accountability, Jenny, you mentioned the confidence and awareness that, tree planting, that all of these things are actually happening.
That's such a great question. And I say to myself, why isn't the government, if you will, socializing this more and more with the world? Why is it only the United Nations, for example, that invested a lot of money in creating this movement across the world? If you look into the Paris Accord that occurred in 10 years ago, they basically decided that let's not take the planet beyond 1.5 degrees of global heat. Let's keep it below that, right? And that's where the whole movement of carbon offsetting actually started. And it has really caught on, but the marketing is really horrible, the way I see it. But it's a great way to invest in projects and make all of us be part of it. I mean, just imagine that half the people on this planet who can afford could spend $5 or $10, $20, right? We give money for charity. We drink coffee every day almost. I mean, at least I do. We do so much on a daily basis, oblivious to the fact that we are frittering away the natural resources of the planet, right? We just don't even know that, and there's no marketing associated with it. And the big companies are definitely doing something because they have to do this through regulation. But I see that many of the big companies are also emotionally attached to becoming a sustainable brand. They are making a effort to become sustainable. But I think the marketing needs to be more global, and the government has to step in, and they need to talk a little bit about why this is more important. That why this is, and not only important, but it's an existential threat to humanity. And one of the things that we have not talked about is, which I think Erin started talking about, was that a person named Jeannie Carver, if you remember that. She's the person who is a maverick in the wool industry. And she started the entire regenerative movement in the United States. What that means is that, I remember I told you that the push for sustainability has to come two ways: from the top down, the retailers and brands, and from the bottom up, which is the farmers and ranchers. She is the maverick who actually decided to take the bull by the horn. Yeah. And work with the ranchers to convince them to do regenerative farming. And that is where the world should be headed. You need to start a movement. And she started a movement. And I believe that the reason I really clicked with her was because she sees the technology to be the missing link. She says EcoStance, or Tony, is the missing link. That's how she frames it. But she is a legend in this industry. So to answer your question, I don't think we can produce too many legends or heroes. I think it needs to become institutionalized by the powers who can institutionalize. Mavericks and heroism can only go take you so far. It's about time that we institutionalize it. And rather than doing big conferences in exotic places, we need to do big conferences in exotic places, but really mean it, you know? So if people really mean it, we can make a change, all of us. And it doesn't take all 8 billion of us. It could be just 2 billion of us who can afford it to make a change. And it's doable.
Compounded effect. One more question for you. You mentioned this earlier about sheep shearing and needing more young people in agriculture. Just curious, as you know, we're all looking for work and opportunity here. How is AI impacting or affecting with an A or driving the agriculture study and progression forward in the industry?
That's a really big question. I mean, I think, you know, AI is still so new, and people in agriculture are not known to be early adopters. But I think that there are a lot of really practical applications, just as AI is making work more efficient and productive in all sectors. The same is true for agriculture. So you could absolutely use AI to optimize what you plant and when. Or if you're trying to do regenerative grazing, you could use the help of AI to analyze your soil and try to optimize your practices to increase soil health, which is, if you know anything about soil health, you know that it is sort of the solution to climate change that is right under our feet, literally, and that healthy soil means a healthy planet. And so, I always say that farmers are on the front lines of climate change. They are impacted the most directly, but they are also positioned to make changes that have a lot of impact. And so, if you have access to a tool that can speed up analysis, farmers are busy. They are some of the busiest people on the planet. They have a million things to do, and crunching numbers on soil health data is not one of those things. They have animals to feed and things to take care of and equipment to repair and a million other things. So any way that we can help farmers make data-driven decisions that will make the planet better for all of us, I think that's a net positive. Does that answer your question?
It does. And
Yeah.
I do know a little bit about soil, and Rebecca, as far as I mean, that Cruise with C2 shirt talked about this today, how soil is fundamental to everything. And I have a little thing that I want to share with you guys today, which is something you can be more sustainable in your everyday lives, and it's tied back to soil and how you can really nourish your own garden, or send it back to the farms in this closed loop system, which is why we're all here today. So I will pass it around and I will share it with you both so you know about this thing.
Awesome. Yeah.
And,
I love C2shirt. Yeah, absolutely. And I would also just add, while we're talking about soil health and go on a tangent, ruminants are crucial to soil health. Ruminants are sheep and goats and cows, but animals that graze and do the opposite of grazing, the food goes in and then the food goes out, but that is crucial to create it to adding microbes to the soil that help make it sequester more carbon. And, that is something that some of the ranchers that Jeannie Carver works with are doing to help regenerate grasslands on the 2.5 million acres that the farm group that she works with grazes. And so it's something that I talk a lot about where, the textile industry in the US has been so offshored, but you can't offshore American rangeland. And we have so much land and soil that we could regenerate. And I really see the work that we're doing at EcoStance as instrumental in helping surface that to brands to help educate consumers.
So I know we're getting short on time. I have a comment and then a quick question. My comment is, in all of us in that gap between intent and action can collaborate and introduce us to people who can help us with that action. And I just want to tie something together that kind of hasn't been mentioned here. It was the Arizona Commerce Authority that introduced fabric to Tony. And Sherry introduced Jeannie to Tony. And then Jeannie introduced Erin to Tony. So there's just like a power of collaboration. So that's my comment. So never quit thinking, how could this person help this person and make those connections? My question is that, and I had this bias when I first came into this too, there's a lot of negative things that are said about carbon offsets. You can be a bad player and just buy your way out of your bad habits. And so I want to hear what you have to say about that.
I mean, yeah, I think I've heard it described as the modern day indulgences where brands are just paying to pollute. And I mean, I think there's a little bit of truth. I also think it's a very cynical perspective, and that I think there is the sort of this unspoken benefit to some people of, lobbing doubt instead of offering solutions. If it's the best tool we have to work with, maybe it's not perfect, but at least it's a start. That said, I do think the industry will eventually move away from carbon offsets and more into carbon insets, where brands can actually invest in their own supply chains and projects that are taking place within those. And we really do see, agriculture and fiberways as being really instrumental in that. And so we will be trying to partner with more farmers and ranchers that are doing soil regeneration on their land to hopefully offer those nature-based solutions as offsets, but insets on our carbon exchange. I think the traceability piece becomes important, where we can actually help connect brands like yours with the agricultural goods that are coming out of those regenerative farms, so that you can actually buy the product that is coming off of the land as it's being regenerative. So kind of looking at fiber and textiles as almost a byproduct of the carbon offsetting taking place on the land. That's the vision, at least. There's a lot of work to go before we get there, but that's kind of where we want to see it going to so yes, the criticism about offsets, it's valid, it's out there. We don't think that it's the be all end all solution and it needs to be the forever solution, but it's a great step in the right direction while we make the other stuff happen.
And I think from EcoStance's perspective, I think we don't want the perfect to be the enemy of the good. So carbon offsets will get you off the ground. And then the sustainability is going to give you that insetting supply chain to make you sustainable in the long haul. But this is not a 10-year journey. This is an easy 12-month, 16, 18-month journey that you could embark on. So we are giving you the path, the roadmap, the strategy, the approach that'll get you to where you want to be. And this can be embraced by any actor in the supply chain, including the large brands and the retailers. But because of the intent action gap, it's easy to criticize something and say this is not perfect and not act on it. It's just almost a reason not to act on something. It's almost like the dog ate my homework. So because of lack of technology to manage double counting, it is the dog ate my homework answer. But if you eliminate double counting through traceability, the dog ate my homework reason goes away and it becomes a very valid, viable product. Yet, we are investing in setting supply chain with sustainability. So you have a pathway to becoming an institute, becoming that truly a sustainable product, basically. So that's a real answer. In fact, I know this industry cold really well, and I can tell you that this has been vetted by the scientists and the brains in United Nations. The 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 are bad actors, just like the way there are bad actors in every industry. They can do double counting, which means they can double sell the same product because it's a digital product. Not many people understand, and those bad actors have polluted and created noise in the market, which kind of feeds the intent action gap. But with traceability and the provenance, we are curbing that instinct of reducing the intent action gap, because now you don't have a reason, honestly. It just a dog ate my homework reason. So we are making an effort using a technology to make a better world. And this is the answer to that, basically.
Well, thank you for doing that. And we're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for coming tonight. And let's give both Tony and Erin one more big round. That was amazing. We're so excited to partner with you guys. And don't forget to come to the last night of Eco Fashion Week, Saturday night. You can find it on our website. Go to fabricincubator.com. Find events under community where all of our free stuff is, and RSVP for that. I hope we see you guys Saturday night, and you can check out all the cool stuff that the local designers have upcycled from Valley, Arizona. Thanks again, you guys.
I want to thank Angela and Sherry for helping us come here and participate and present to you guys. So I want to also thank Erin and also all of you for being here. We really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to you as well. And thank you to all of you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome.